Thank you everyone for taking the time to come today. My name is Jacqueline, and I think we're very privileged to have a very wide diversity of speakers today coming from different angles of community building. So just to share the context for Rachel, she comes at community building from as a brand founder and an owner of a brand. For John and Dexter of Soul Superior, they come at community building from an angle where it's about an interest group. It's about sneakerheads and how do you build community around that interest group. And Steph of Duo Studio actually runs a social media agency. So she comes at it from an angle of how do you build community for clients and for brands. So first up, we'll have Rachel of Love Bonito. And so let's give a round of applause to welcome her up.
Okay, hello everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for spending your morning with us. And we have each speakers. We have 10 minutes to share a little bit about our brand, how we do community, before going into a panel session. So, conscious of time, I will just try and bring out as much essence as I can about how here in Love Bonito. We try to build our community in a very different and unique way. So just a very quick introduction of Love Bonito. Love Bonito was founded officially 10 years ago, unofficially 13 years ago. It started off when my co-founders and I were still in school. We wanted to have extra pocket money, so we sold our pre-loved clothes online. So back then, online shopping in Singapore 13 years ago was unheard of, right? No iPhone, no iBanking. How people transferred money was really through ATM transfers, and then they would scan the receipts and send it over to us, or they would send money via snail mail to us. So those were the really dinosaur days to what it is today, right? We have PayLah, PayNow, things like that. So in my final year of university, I decided to come out with no business background, no fashion background, to come out to start designing and manufacturing our own label, because we saw a gap in the market for well-designed, well-made pieces for the everyday Asian women. So this was how essentially Love Bonito was born. So just a quick introduction of our community team, right? And today I'll focus on the physical manifestations of how we build our community. Of course, we all know today there's online, there's offline as well, right? So I'll focus on the offline aspects. Online aspects, of course, it encompasses like social media, the way we talk to our customers online and things like that. So today I'll focus on the offline aspects, right? So our goal in the community team, and my community manager Stella is right behind, is to win the hearts of our customers and bring our products and values to life by connecting, by listening, and anticipating their needs to foster a deeper connection. I think at the end of the day, especially today, people can replicate your products, people can replicate the way you do things, right? But what they cannot ever replicate is they can never take away the connection and the relationship that we have with our customers. So that's really, really valuable. And in a day and age today, customers are looking to connect with brands who will speak the same values as them. So ultimately, we want to tug at their heartstrings, then their purse strings. So this is the goal of the community team. So we'll be running through three aspects, right? How we connect, how we engage, and ultimately as well, how we excite our customers. As I said, I'll be focusing on two physical aspects. So the first one will be style ambassadors and events. So Love Bonito, well, we had our very first flagship store in Singapore 2 years ago at 313 Somerset, right? Because we have also realized that, hey, shopping today is not just online, but also offline. We want to be where our customers are at. So after, of course, having experimented with pop-up stores for the last 5 years, we decided, okay, you know what? We kind of get the hang of it. We know what we're going to do in order to, what the experience that we want for our customers, right? So we are ready for a physical permanent store. So we have a 4,600 square feet store in 313 Somerset at the heart of Orchard. And also, right, for us, it is not just a place where we display products to sell. It is not just a transactional place, right? Because think about it, people can buy anything and everything that they want on their fingertips anytime. So we need to give people a good enough reason to come down to the store. So we came up with a style ambassadors team, right? Beyond, of course, our necessary retail usual stuff, we also came up and selectively groom a team of style ambassadors. So the style ambassadors, we call ourselves the cheerleaders of Love Bonito. We are honest because and I'm going to be honest with you, the style ambassadors are not driven by commission. So it doesn't mean the more you sell, the more you earn. I think we didn't want to give them that mindset, right? Because we really wanted them to be honest with customers. So a lot of time, customers, you know, if they wear something and if we don't think that this color suits you very well or this piece doesn't flatter you as well, we would tell you honestly and very kindly. And I think that's one thing that customers appreciate in a world today where everyone's trying to sell you something. So style ambassadors are one key pillar of Love Bonito, right? And of course, as well, this is the foundation where trust is built with our customers, and that's what keeps them coming back as well. It's almost like going to your favorite hairstylist, right? You get to know them, they know what you like, they know what you don't like, they know what color suits you, and that's the relationship and bond that we want to have between the style ambassadors and our customers. So we also provide very personalized, authentic shopping experiences for them. So just a key insight. So we realized that customers who interact with our style ambassadors. So, okay, the interesting thing here is, I've never really shared this in public outside of Love Bonito. So the interesting thing here is they are not driven by commission, right? So they're driven just by really caring and being honest. So we have realized based on data that customers that interact with our style ambassadors actually have 2 times higher transactional value than those that have no interaction with the star ambassadors. So what that means is people who interact with star ambassadors because of having that honest, trusting relationship buy twice as much than if they didn't. So the main goal wasn't because we wanted you to buy twice as much, but the main goal was driven really because, so this was just the after effect. I have 5 minutes left. I'm going to just speed through. So basically, this was one of our star ambassadors, right? And quoting her, because we connect and truly care for our customers on more than just the transactional level, they can feel it, right? And that's what keeps them coming back. So these are just some snippets of the customer. This here is she is a cancer patient. She stepped into the store one day after her chemotherapy, and she felt so lousy about herself, and she just wanted to come in for just a shopping therapy session. So she came in, she met with one of our style ambassadors, and she's been coming back regularly ever since. The other arm, I'm so sorry if I'm speaking too fast, but the other arm to which in Love Bonito, how we carve out resources to be able to connect with our customers is having events, right? I think one of the key things when we build the Love Bonito store is also to ensure that we have a space that we would put aside to allow customers to come in to connect with them, like sessions like this, right? It might not make sense because technically, well, we're supposed to make full use of as much sales per square foot as possible, but in Love Bonito, we also make space to ensure that we invest in our customers by through many inspiring sessions like panel talks or styling workshops. So this is an example of styling workshops, right? Which, to be honest, on the balance sheet doesn't make sense because you carve out resources to hold an event. And I must say that community events and building and investing in community doesn't always necessarily have direct returns, right? Direct monetary immediate returns. Yes. So these are just some ways where we use firstly real women as models, right? Because let's be real, none of us are like 6 foot tall models, but yeah, we use real women and we talk about real issues, right? Like, okay, if we are more conscious because we have a heavy bottom, now how can I help you dress for yourself with issues like that? All of us, we have body parts that we like and that we don't necessarily like. So we wanted to address all those and talk about them as well. So this was a recent panel session that we had together. We collaborated with Wear Oh Wear, where we brought down Hanli, Linda, Anita Kapoor as well, where we talk about our insecurities and our struggles as women that we have with our bodies as well. And of course, then we will take the time also to style the models and the panelists. So beyond engaging with our customers, we hold community events to bring more awareness, right? They are important to us as a brand. I think back to why this team exists in the first place was what I mentioned earlier. We are here to bring the values and the products to life to our customers. So of course, one key thing about Love Bonito is we want to journey with women at different aspects of their lives, right? So of course, Love Bonito, the way we reach out to women is through fashion. We always believe that we are a people business serving fashion. We are not a fashion business serving people. So fashion is just a vehicle for us to reach out to women. I think at the end of the day, we are here to really inspire, grow, and help women in our journey together. So these are other also bigger major sessions that we have held for our community, to grow with them, to engage with them. I have 1 minute left. And most recently last week, this is what we did. And this year we decided to give back to the young, I call them young, they are young, like soon to be graduates, poly, uni grads, right? Because I think a lot of questions that people have today, especially the uni grads and poly grads soon to be, they're like, well, what am I going to do next? What choice should I take in my career? What choice should I take in the causes that I want to pursue? So we brought together successful women who are doing something now in their career which they didn't graduate in. Right, so we have Bibi Yusof, was a law graduate, now running her own business. We had Jeanette Chitik, never ever studied fashion, never graduated in fashion, but right now heading up LaSalle's fashion arm. We had Dion, studied finance, right now is the chief commercial officer of Love Bonito, not taking care so much of the finance aspect. We had Crystal, the senior vice president of Goldjack. She studied political science, but right now heading up the data and business intelligence arms of Goldjack. So we really wanted to share with students as well, you know, like what really matters at the end of the day is not so much what you study, but what you take out of it. So I think the other aspects that we had also in this session was we got our team LB, women leaders, to come and share what is it like behind marketing. What does marketing really mean today? What does design really mean today? What does data really mean today? And I think that was very insightful for us. And I think back to building community, right? I think we slowly want to sow seeds into these young women's lives and slowly foster a connection with them. So we'll be doing more of all these things. And I just really wanted to show this. I just added this slide this morning because I think at the end of the day, this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And of course, physiological needs are the most basic needs, right? Safety, right? And I think the third one where community comes in is social. We all have an innate need to want to belong, right? And we're always looking for a tribe. And a tribe is a group of people that you connect with based on the same values. And a tribe is a group of people or like-minded people that you want to grow with. And I do think that all of us have that. I mean, not that I do think, but I know, and also based on this, right, we all know that all of us are yearning for that connection. And if you're here today looking to build a brand, I would say that community is really very important, but there is no one straight way to build a community. It really depends, at the end of the day, you as a brand, what you stand for, your products as well. And for Love Bonito, this is our goal, right? We want to serve women from all walks of life and to play a bigger part in their life, not just through fashion, but through many other aspects that matters to a women's life. And I'd love to share more later, and we'd love to hear your questions as well. And my time is up, so thank you very much for your patience.
So, thank you very much, Rachel. I think one of the biggest insights for me listening to Rachel speak is that while you know, your community building drives sales, you cannot be sales centric when actually building a community, and I think that's a very fine line to balance. So I have a lot of admiration for the clarity with which he was able to share that. So John and Dexter from Soul Superior, it's a annual sneaker convention. So we'll be hearing about community building around like something that was first their hobby, and you know, and it's about interest group of sneakerheads. So can you have a round of applause to welcome them up?
Sweet. Test.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Thanks for the invite, and thank you, Rachel, for such an amazing opening and inspiring presentation. In case everybody's wondering why there's a strange low voice there, that's my son in the back. I'm the asshole that brought the child. I'm just kidding. So he promises to behave so that he can play arcade games later. So I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Dexter, and well, we're going to be sharing with you a bit about Soul Superior. I mean, for us, we are a bit more unique. John and I, it's not so obvious, we're actually 10 years apart in age, but we are actually friends. So basically, me and John met with our common passion of sneakers. We were queuing up for sneakers outside Orchard Senior Leisure. I know it sounds very arbitrary that we are doing that kind of stuff, but that's how we do it. And yeah, me and John met up and we became very fast friends. And we realized that in Singapore, for sneakerheads, we didn't have a real event to celebrate our geekiness. You know, people have Comic Con, they have Anime Fest, but sneakers
Game
were
Start,
Game Start, and sneakers were something of a rarity. You know, no one really comes together and talks sneakers. So we wanted to do something, but we didn't want to be the ones doing it. Hence, we went around asking people, "Hey, can you take this up? We'll help you. We'll do it part time. We'll do it for free." But lo and behold, because this is Singapore, many rejected the idea, saying that it's too expensive. It makes no sense. Why would we want to do this? People are buying sneakers anyway. Why should we do an event just to do it? So me and John took a huge risk. We have our day jobs. So by day we are working. By night we are doing Soul Superior. It sounds a bit dodgy, but yeah. So basically, me and John put in our own money, and we actually started doing our first event. After
7 years ago.
7 years ago. Yeah, we met 8 years ago. So 7 years ago, we talked over drinks, and of course, with everything that's to do with drinks, ideas happen, and suddenly you cannot back out. Right. Okay. So first event, we were lucky to get Zook to partner with us, and we held our first event, and we fully expected only like 100 people to turn up. And we'll make a monumental loss, and we realized that, oh, we have to sell our kidneys now and not get married. Yeah. But we are glad that after various avenues of reaching out to community, we were able to attract 1,400 people for our first event. And yeah, this is what Zook used to look like for all those old Zook heads. And yeah, we opened Zook in a day, and I managed to grab some people to come together. And as you can see, it's quite packed, and we were quite pleasantly surprised.
The first year we only booked the main. If for those who are familiar with the old Zouk, we booked the main venue plus wine bar. But the second year we actually booked the entire venue.
So year after year, we grew bit by bit, adding in new things. The crowd grew bigger. We grew more tired and stressed. But it's always centered around a few key trusts in terms of, if you want to do business lingo, a few key trusts in our particular community. All right. Of course, sneakers were the main idea that we focused around. But yeah, so this was what happened last year. We expanded to a point that over a 3-day period, we attracted close to 10,000 people for our event. Not too bad, not too shabby for two people who decided on a drunken night that, hey, let's do an event. And 7 years later, wow.
And
did that happen?
We pretty much do everything ourselves. We'll come to that in a bit.
Yeah. Okay. So Street Superior, Soul Superior basically is the brainchild for both of us. And for us, we actually put down a lot to a few things I'm going to share with regards to community and building a brand. So I'll pass it off to Jonathan now.
Hey, thanks. I'm just going to show some media highlights. I don't know why it's not in sequence, but anyway, it's one of my dreams to always. I can't believe that we will feature on MTV, cover of Life. I know, like a lot of younger people, they don't even hold a newspaper, but to be on the front page of a newspaper is pretty. Yeah. Business Times, and we will feature on Hypebeast. And also on the, if you're familiar with the, I think it's Berlin-based publication High Snobiety, quite a lot of times. For Dexter and I, we were very exceptionally proud of this because prior to starting Soul Superior, we read about all these sneaker events like Sneakerness, Kickspo, events that are happening in Europe where they celebrate communities of sneakerheads gathering together, and that was pretty much an inspiration. Like we were wondering, like, you know, why can't we have something like that in Singapore? So to be featured from the source that gave us inspiration, it made us feel that we put Singapore on the map, lah. So coming to what basically is Soul Superior, essentially by accident, our curation blends brands like Vans with the consumer, community groups, and with people like Mark Sabotage, who are local Singaporean artists, including people that start their own little independent labels, customizers, artists. So the consumers, as you know, as many people call them hype beasts, I call them people who are very into sneakers, lah. If you replace hype beasts with passionate consumers, kind of the same, right?
It sounds better, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and
yeah. So a large part of our, I would say, popularity was because we were first and foremost sneakerheads. We loved shoes. Our purchasing addiction can put Imelda Marcos to shame, but Don't tell my mom that, okay? She hates me for it, all right? But a lot of things that we did were part of communities before So Superior. So just like how comic geeks were come together at comic shops to talk about comics, we had the rise of social media and online Facebook groups, Instagram pages, and that's where we actually grew to meet different walks of life, different people, and we attended events, we went around talking to them, and quite surprisingly, this formed the basis of how So Superior was able to grow year after year. And as you can see, we actively go out to meet people, talk to them at physical events, and that in turn resulted in these people finding it easier to go for our events because they found us familiar, and hopefully they liked us, you know. So yeah, that also led on to meeting these same people who actually built our connections with brands. We are one of the first sneaker conventions in the world to feature Nike at the event. For those who have known Nike, that they don't do events because they are up there and we're down there. So yeah, we met in the middle. All right. And for retailers, we go out, and I like to think that we are quite likable. I mean, we bring our parents. I brought my dad to events. He brings his son, and this builds up this kind of like this lack of air among us that people found quite, at least they, like I said, they liked us. And for local brands, this meant a lot because by supporting them, we are showing them that that this whole community is together in one particular direction, right? So this resulted in us working with various local and international global brands, and this also in part pushed up our community base.
Yeah, so for example, like one on the left is a collaboration with us and local retailer Good Luck Bunch. We've done collaborations with Slovakian sneaker company Novesta, which is actually a dream of ours, you know, to finally get our own shoe. Caps with New Era, X Large, and a local stock company, Freshly Pressed. I actually bought a couple of pairs that I wanted to give away, but I was only thinking like 5 people would show up this morning. But so maybe we'll do a contest later. And the last one being local label Pras the Bandit, Ivan, who we worked very closely and did our jackets and stuff.
Yeah, so in turn, with this community, grew to us actually being invited for events, just like how we invite these community groups in events, and where through the communal gathering of communication, discussion, and sessions like this, we were able to know each other much better. And as a result, this actually inevitably grew our brand in the eyes of our target consumer. And as a result, as you can see, 7 years, 7 different artists.
Some of which have gone on to do spectacular new things. Like, for example, on the right is a Singaporean artist who's also a skateboarder named Tang Tux. So he did this Scholar Monks series for us. And awesome thing is that we did about 50 T-shirts. And you know you've truly made it when within an hour and a half they get posted on Carousel for 500% more. And yeah, so because all the T-shirts sold out like in 30 seconds or something like that. And subsequently, Tux has gone on to do a capsule with Vans itself. He's got a whole cap, shoe, and apparel from there.
Yeah, and as earlier as Rachel mentioned, we are truly just a tribe of communal people who have a shared interest, and with that, you influence inevitably people who are outside this little tribe who want to be in. Because when building up a community, the most important thing is inclusiveness. There's no judgment involved. Of course, fashion, sneakers, streetwear often are very judgmental. But then given a choice, if you come to our events, you realize that these kids and people actually take the time to dress up as outlandishly as possible because they have no fear of judgment at our event. Everyone is as geeky as you. And as a result, it is a go-to event now. And moving forward, not just building community in local contexts, we actually have moved on. Oh, right.
Yeah, sorry. So as part of our event curation, besides working with local artists, we also, I mean, it already, honestly, people that come to So Superior, they don't really care about the music programming. Nobody's going to pay $10 to come and see Weish, Fox, or Mean. But I'm a music fan, and one of the inspirations that that drove me to decide to do So Superior was the Laneway Festival. If, as many of you might know, he did it to just get the Avalanches back together, like while having drinks. So as part of our event, I just like to feature people that I like listening to, or so people like Louis Intrigan. It was the first time he ever played outside of a 30-person venue, and look like he's doing amazing things now. So we're just really very happy that we get to feature local Singaporean musicians that we like. If you guys know Prav, Wavy, if you know, if you know a 15 to 20-year-old who's into trap music, Wavy is the night in Singapore that all the kids go for now. And maybe about 8 years ago, Dexter and I knew Prav because he was working in a sneaker store as a 15-year-old. Now he runs like the biggest trap and hip hop night in Singapore lah. And we had kids that I brought them up to the DJ console last year, and it felt like we really made their year by bringing them, introducing them to the DJs.
Yeah, so ultimately, this is just an example. Like Prav is an example of how building a community can actually grow into something bigger. We met him through our shared interests, and as a result, 7 years down, he has become a very integral part of our event and also has gone on to bigger things. So what's next for Soul Superior? I think that was one of the questions that you asked us. Other than local, we are trying to expand out to even bigger things, gathering talks with people, community, and brands.
Just to share, sorry, we go back. So that is Johnny Chung. We had for SG50, we decided to we asked Mandeep from Limited Ed to share as a local retailer. How does he get to do collaborations with all the global companies? He's done shoes with Asics, Adidas, New Balance. We look at everything from Soul Superior is curated from the perspective of a consumer as a fan. So as a consumer and as a fan, I'm always very curious on how does the process of a global collaboration happen? Does the brand initiate it? Does the retailer or the artist initiate it? What are the limitations, And so we asked Mandip whether he would be keen on sharing it, and he brought the two shoe designers down. On the day itself, we probably had less than the people in the number of room that were paying attention, because they were all more interested in going to buy dope or hype sneakers. They just come in the room and there's no Yeezy here, so they just left. But for the probably 30 to 40 people that were in the room, I thought it was amazing sharing because they got to learn about how the whole design process happens. And Johnny, who did a shoe for Mandeep, has gone on now. He works with Adidas, and if you might know, he did the Dragon Ball pack last year. Yeah, so we are always we're very proud to be able to provide these sort of informative things, whether or not the attendees draw to that. We want to have a little bit of our own blend in that kind of event creation. Okay, we have to wrap up.
Okay,
yeah.
So just to wrap it up, what's moving forward, we have not only involved our local community, we are expanding to the region, and earlier in the year, we actually launched our first regional collaboration with all the sneaker events in Southeast Asia and Australia. So moving forward, you may see a collaborative effort expand beyond just the geographical boundaries of Singapore to even the world, hopefully. So for us at Soul Superior, there's no clear-cut recipe, but we do what we know, which is being ourselves, having a lot of visibility and communication with our target community group, and just staying true to what you love. Passion is something that we throw around very often in this day and age, but if you show it, people will like it, and people will follow you, and that's where community can play a very big part in your growth of your brand. So if for us, we don't do this as a business, it's for fun, but fun can also mean that you do pretty dope stuff. All right, thank you very much.
So thank you, John and Dexter. It's fascinating to note that the way we build community is almost counterintuitive, where they're not about building the brand of Soul Superior directly, but they're actually about elevating other local musicians or artists, and it's counterintuitive way to build community. So Duo Studio is a social media agency. So Steph comes at community building from a perspective of building communities for other brands and for clients. So can we please welcome Steph on stage?
Hi guys. Thanks for coming today, and thank you so much the other speakers for sharing. It's refreshing for me because I think my difference is, Okay. My difference is I didn't exactly kind of like build and grow my own community. Instead, because we do social media, it's a little bit of what people pay us to do lah. So, because I'm an ad person, I like to know who is in the room and who my target audience is. So I'm a little bit curious to see how many of you here are like you work for a brand and it's kind of like in your responsibility to help your brand grow the community. Show of hands. Okay. Oh, okay. And then, how many of you are here because you have like a huge passion point like these guys here, and you're interested in growing, like you want to get around people who are as passionate as you are, and you want to grow that community? Yeah. And then the rest. Okay, so anyway, oh yeah, thanks. Some are here to support me lah, huh? So I think I also understand that everyone is here from diverse backgrounds, and so I think like I didn't really want to kind of like dig up and show our case studies. I'll be around after to if you guys have any specific questions about how we do it for brands. But I think what I really wanted to do was to kind of like impart our view on how communities should be built. I think a lot of times when it becomes transactional and businesses kind of like pay us to be like, hey, can you help me build my community? Because at the end of the day, they just want to sell more things. They lose sight of actually what a community means. So if community is not just a buzzword, then what is it? Yeah, so for us, it's really about building relationships. And that's why, I mean, there could be certain shortcuts that we take, but the tenets of building a relationship are pretty much the same. So, I mean, now we are in a day of like online dating, right? I guess we would really liken it to, you know, checking out someone, if you're interested in that someone, getting to know that someone, and then getting to know that person better, and then keeping things fresh. So I'll take you through these different steps of how we approach it. And I'll also, oh, did all my GIFs become stills? Okay, these were all GIFs. Eh? So I used, I don't know if you guys have watched You on Netflix. Have you? Okay, show of hands again. All right. So basically, You is about this guy who works in a bookstore, and he really wants to get to know this girl who is a potential writer, and he kind of like does it in strange and mysterious ways. But no plot spoiler, but yeah, he's kind of a psychopath. Yeah. So talking about community, right? That's the whole point of today's talk. I asked my best friend Google and greatest teacher of all time what community meant. And so it really revolves around like people getting together who have something in common. So a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common, or the second one, a condition of sharing or having certain attitudes and interests in common. So this is kind of like the basis of what you look at as we as an agency try to build communities around brands. First, we look at, okay, what does the brand or the person stand for? What are they passionate about? And then looking at the community, what are they passionate about? And then we identify that middle range, and then we go into relationship building. So, like I said, we look at what's that thing in common that you have. If you know, so for example, you love sneakers and you want to reach out to people who love sneakers as well, then, okay, this was a gif of like her coming up to the door and holding a bag of donuts because she did something wrong. So my point is, like, then it's pretty simple. Just as a brand, give people what they want. If you know what they enjoy, then it's very simple. You just need to like, hey, use that as a teaser to get people to come and communicate with you and build relationships with you. And also, if there is a common topic, then it's about bringing up that topic and creating an environment where people can talk about that topic. So if you don't, and this is where the You part becomes very interesting, it becomes a slightly creepy game of stalking the target audience that you want. So if you guys watch You, basically, oh, I'm sorry, this isn't turning out well, but basically this this bookstore owner, right, he sees this girl that walks into his bookstore and like, wow, chiobu, and then he's like, wow, I gotta get to know her. But he gets to know her by stalking her social media profiles, and then he knows exactly what she's interested in, where she goes at certain times of the day, what she does, and then also he goes down to stalk her in real life also. So he will go to her house and then look in the window and then just follow her through her day. So to be honest, that's a huge part of what we do as well as groundwork. So there are two ways of doing it. Really going offline to observe what people's target audiences are doing. So I think just because we do social media doesn't mean that we just stay in the realm of digital. Being offline is super, super important because there are certain things that we don't catch that people are saying online. So for example, like one of our clients is a retail mall. What we do is like our team really goes down, stay in the mall, throughout the entire day, kind of like look around at people, see what kind of shops they're going to, what they're going into the malls for, and what they're doing. On another level, we also have listening tools that we plug in certain keywords around. So for example, if it's fashion, then it's fashion and certain related competitor brands. And then we kind of like pick up on conversations that people are talking about. And this is also where we can pick up on real so-called buzzword here, influencers, and what kind of influence they can really have around conversations around your brand. So there's a fair amount of stalking that we do as well to help brands understand their target audiences. And I think this level of understanding is very, very, it's the basis of how you have actually a proper conversation with people, right? So once you really know a person, then that helps you kind of accelerate the kind of conversations that you have. So then we go into moderating conversations. So this was a gif of him going like, yes. So basically what this psychopath does is he goes and like, he does certain things that he thinks would work for this girl. And then after that, he actually hacked into her phone. So he has visibility on all her like WhatsApp conversations. And then he'll look at, oh, how are they reacting to him? And then is he really winning in this game? So the parallel, that's actually what we do as an agency. We test out certain content pillars and certain conversational points. And then after that, with our listening tool, we listen in to how people are reacting to it. Like, is the engagement good? Are people actually talking about what we want them to talk about? And then it becomes a dance from there. Like, we try and test a lot of things, and a lot of optimization takes place in terms of the conversations that we have. And then I kind of like interrupt with a Ellen gif because I think Ellen is like my epitome of somebody who moderates conversations very well. If you follow her show, she has a format working for her that is, it feels good, right? Like it feels good for the host, the people that come in, the audience that watches it, and then there are certain pillars already that she has where like she takes out relevant content from the internet. What happened? Okay, never mind, I just continue talking. She takes out relevant content from the internet oh yay, you can see my GIFs now. Sorry, I gave it to them in like my business runs on Google plug. And everyone just has a good time. And she has a standard template that helps her like continue the conversation forever and ever. So yeah, I love Ellen, and she's someone I look up to. Like, she can talk about any topic, and you know it's still done in her voice. So then part 3 is in keeping things fresh. And I think just like in every relationship, once you get something working, it doesn't mean that you stick to that throughout the rest of your life. If not, like your other party will get bored, right? And that's how breakups happen, I guess. So it's also in keeping things fresh. So we usually test these content pillars, but that doesn't mean that these are tried and tested measures. So for example, for our company, we do audits at like every quarterly mark and every end of a campaign or whatever it is. And also we are always listening out to, in the industry, what are people talking about or what's trending, what are people starting to get interested in. And these things come up like as and when they want to lah. So then I think it's really about, you know, keeping things fresh, especially in a relationship, trying new things, keeping people excited, and letting them know that you genuinely care and think about them. Obviously, that also comes in that whole dance of a relationship, of knowing what they want and what they might find exciting. And yeah, the intended outcome is to have a long-lasting relationship with your community. I think a lot of times when we get briefed in, because it's so transactional, it becomes like a flash in a pan, where like, hey, I wanna get this community, I wanna get them to talk about like sportswear, and then after we're done with the event, bye bye. But like to me, then like how can you really build a actual genuine community that will be genuinely interested in having a long-lasting relationship with your brand. So yeah, I guess with these tips, there is actually, I would say, no shortcut to building a community. And you, like the previous presenters have shown, I think as a brand or as a person, you do have to have like this deep passion that will keep you going, because it's not something that you can just like throw money at and then build out one time. It really relies on real people going down to build real relationships. And I think in essence, that's what I wanted to put across lah. Yeah. The art of building relationships, and with a community, it's not just one-to-one, it's one-to-many already. All right, thanks.
Great, thank you, Steph, for sharing. I really like her reductionist approach to coming down to the essence of community building, that it's no different from, you know, a one-on-one relationship that you're trying to build and develop as well. Okay, so before we begin the panel session, so just want to set that the point of today's session is to really get more candid and honest about community building. So the first question is addressed to all of you. So is community building an inside-out or outside-in process? So for example, is it about finding the right people to match what the founders and the brand is about? Or is it about organic growth where the brand changes its ideals over time to cater to the community and you get more people by feeding their egos? So this is addressed to everyone.
Perhaps I can start. I think it's a little bit of both. I guess in this sense, it's a two-way street. Part and parcel of building something is knowing what people want, as well as not sacrificing what is truly you. Of course, if you're going to be very stubborn and keep to a one-way street, you're going to go into one direction and it may not be reciprocal. So sometimes when you are dealing with a community, there is a need to actually have like what was earlier mentioned, have some like a finger on a pulse to see what works and how is that weaved into your inherent passion and what you are interested in. If you're just going to keep to a very stubborn one-directional view, I think you run the risk of actually losing that community, because everyone likes to be served, right? Yeah, so you have as a brand an obligation to serve the community that you are targeting. But of course, you want them to like you for what you are, and not what you want them to think.
So just to interrupt, because in your presentation as well, you talk about how people like you guys a lot, right?
So
Yeah. So I mean, for likability, what happens to is it about just catering to the people that like you, and then you don't care about the people who don't like you? Put it very straightforward.
I think it's a balance. Yeah, I think to a certain extent you listen to what they want, and if you feel that we dedicate a portion to that. But I feel that it also doesn't become fun if it doesn't have your own personality or your own take on what you would want to attend, what you want to see at the event. But I think ultimately for both of us, we come from the perspective of the consumer and as a fan. And so we always think to ourselves, if we paid money to come to Soul Superior, what would we want to see? So yeah.
I mean, there are some people who don't like us, by the way, just to put it out there. And they do criticize us non-stop online. So we take out the most constructive feedback that we can take, those that are not laced with some malice or whatever not, and then we fix what we are, because we are not, no one is perfect, to be very frank, and if you're resistant to change, you will not be able to, okay, I'm an educator by day, so there's no buy-in for that particular person that doesn't like you anymore. Once you create a buy-in for them, they're yours, like you would stalk them enough to know what they want. Yeah.
How about for Rachel, for yourself?
Okay, so what's the question again? Like, is it?
Because, for example, for someone like yourself, where your brand has brand values, brand ideals, and now that your brand has grown so big over time, is it about just still growing the community by finding people who believe in your brand, or do you actually say that now that the community has grown so big, maybe the community now is not what we set out to build? Right. Then do you then shape your brand to like, hey, let's cater to the new community now?
Oh, okay. Definitely it's the former. I think as with building any business, you have to understand and recognize and come to terms that we can't serve everyone, we shouldn't serve everyone, right? I think it's better to have 10 super loyal, high quality customers than 1,000 flaky customers that would be easily just won over by everyone who gives the next discount. So I think as a brand, you need to know very clearly, firstly, of course, your values, what you stand for, and then reach out to the people who would see eye to eye with you, who you have to find your own tribe. You have to speak their lingo and win them over and get to know them. And and then those people would then spread word of mouth for you, right? Because then they will obviously also hang out with other like-minded people, and then they would help grow along with you. So I think very similar. Like an example for Soul Superior, I'm sure sneaker fans would tend to hang out with other sneaker fans, right? And then they, like, if there is a special event or something, and they will definitely share with other like-minded people. So I think organically as well, this is how it grows. And in my opinion, I think that's how it should grow. Yeah.
And then for Steph?
For me, sorry to be super advertising lah, but my question would be, what's the brief law? So I think it works both ways lah. So example of outside in that we do would be like one of our clients is Hougang Mall. It's a super neighborhood mall, but they wanted to know how to position themselves better to their community, and that was more outside in. That required us to kind of like understand people who stay in Hougang and what they're interested in or what kind of pain points that they have. But an example of inside out would be like one of our clients is also Uniqlo, and if they had to launch a sportswear brand, that this is not exactly a scene that Uniqlo is big in or is known for. So then it becomes an inside out. Then we go into like kind of like leveraging the right so-called influencers to drive the conversations for us so that we can position the brand in this community already. Yeah.
Great, thank you for sharing. The next question is addressed to John and Dexter. They say most women are more social beings and therefore form communities more naturally. So considering that, as the only guys on today's panel, can you share a bit more on what it's like to build a community that is more male-centric, and whether, what are the challenges?
And shout out to all the women for the International Women's Day yesterday, by the way. I mean, I agree lah. I mean, I personally, I'm not a very... I've been for... Okay, hands up, who guys, you've been for like a car forum thing? I was dragged along for one. So, I guess like men like to find like their own tribes or their cliques, people with the same similar interests lah. So, I mean, in terms of sneaker groups, it's quite similar to the car groups lah. You have the Honda Jazz meetups, and then you have your Beetle meetups. So for sneakers, it's kind of the same. I guess there are people with us, like if they are strictly Vans, they are Vans heads, and then there are people that are, I don't know. They find like what are the other common groups?
Yeah. So basically, for guys, I guess it's one part competitive. Then from there they discuss, but sometimes not in a very cordial manner.
It's quite competitive, like yeah. Like
that's the thing you see.
Street cred or
who has the rare one, or like who has the hot drop, or like
Really?
Yeah.
I know it's a very weird kind of idea, but guys inherently like to compare everything.
Really? I'm surprised. I thought women are the one that likes to compare.
Oh, if you have seen the...
I thought we struggle with that.
I think for one, like you get very like if you compliment somebody else at Soul Superior, the guy will just give you the face of disgust or shock. Like,
why?
Like I don't know. Maybe it's a guy thing.
Maybe it's
like,
not a guy thing to like compliment each other,
Yeah.
Like, actually, just to share, the reason why me and John are friends, because when we were queuing, right, generally, if you have not been to a sneaker queue, okay, maybe none of you have, people tend to not like each other.
It's very antisocial.
Like, okay, like if for somebody is in front of me, it's like, is he going to take my size 10? That
You see,
asshole.
like-
Yeah. But John was the first one to say, hey, nice shoes.
I mean, there will be, honestly,
Yeah.
it's like it's a one size run. Okay, so maybe they have size 8 to 12, and so literally there are like less than 10 pairs there, right? And if the guy before me, like gets to buy my size and doesn't get he just buy it all, then I will be stuck with nothing. Whereas like
Yeah.
if but the gentlemanly or the polite way to be, if my size is gone, I'd like look like I wouldn't snatch that last pair. But people generally are kind of like, I think there's a kind of like competitiveness in sneakerheads.
Yeah. But I think it's getting better, I must admit, because now with social media and anonymity, you can say things without no one knowing who you really are. And guys, I think they have this fear of like, I don't know, a bravado that restricts them from complimenting another guy. You can't go and like, hey, nice cakes, man. Then like, ugh. But now it's getting better because online at least you are removed with that stigma of like no one, you don't see like guys on Orchard Road looking at each other like, hey, nice. but ladies would actually do that, and I've noticed this in shops. They will go around, hey, that's a nice dress. Where do you get it from?
Yeah.
But the guy is like, I'm going to take a picture. And I'm going to find it myself because no one can help me in this kind of thing. But it's getting better because with, I would say with the advent of social media, right, people are communicating more easily without the fear of judgment. And I think for ladies and guys, we do judge each other a lot. It's just that ladies, you judge less when you want that thing that the girl has. So like, hey, you have a nice dress. I'm not going to judge you anymore. I'm going to ask you, hey, where's the dress from? Okay, but for guys, it's like, he has a nicer t-shirt than me. I hate him.
I wonder where he buy. Or like, then if you ask him, then he's like, eBay. Then, but actually, he's not going to tell you the hookup or the plug, right? Yeah.
We have some ways to go, but I guess for us,
I'm sorry, but I totally disagree with my partner on this aspect, but I will say this though: if you watch the movie The Warriors, right? So the dude brings all the different gangs and the clans together at that one spot before he's spoiler lah. But anyway, so I guess that's our role in Soul Superior lah. We bring the different mini tribes to our main gathering.
Yeah, when you lock people into a room like long enough, right, they have no choice but to talk to each other.
It's a very interesting sharing on, building a community where people are competitive. So yeah, thanks for sharing. Very, very insightful. How do you bring enemies together for a common cause in a way? Yeah. So the next question is addressed to Rachel actually. When we had our chat and discussion previously, you mentioned that when you first started out, the business priority is on developing the product first, whereas now the focus is more on growing and supporting the community that you shared in your presentation just now. So I think that happens as a natural progression for quite a few brands or communities, spontaneous or not. Can you share a bit more about the particular turning point for that, when that turning point was, what triggered that turning point?
Okay, so for Love Bonito, yes, of course, I think when you start a brand or business, the product is always key, right? Because without which, no matter how much hype you have, no matter how much marketing you do, if your product fails, I think it's very hard for a customer to continue supporting your brand no matter what. So that's one. So hence, of course, in the initial stages for us as well, it's also really very important to ensure that we get our products right. And I think essentially, actually, the journey of like building a community has evolved since the very beginning of the first day we started Love Bonito, and I think it's taken very many different forms.
It evolved naturally, or
Yes.
was it intentional that you guys?
Okay, so even for us, right, from the very beginning, like how do we even want to ensure that we get our products right? That has to involve the community, right? Talking to them, understanding, like we literally pulled out focus groups after focus groups for like different groups of customers, the loyalists, the ones that bought once or twice but wouldn't come back, and those that have never heard of the brand, never tried the brand. So, I mean, these are also ways where we involve the community and build community, right? Because then it's to understand and find out more, like what are they looking for, what's disappointing them, or what do they really love about the brand. So I think to Jack's question, I think yes, building a community takes very different form at different stages of a business, and I do think that as the company grew for us in Love Bonito, we also really wanted to find our footing as a brand, right? Like who are we? And I think, as I briefly shared with Jack also, that actually it wasn't really until like the last 4 years that we really discovered that, hey, actually we are a brand that really serves people versus just serving fashion, right? As I said earlier, really we discovered that what we are passionate about is not so much just fashion. I think at the end of the day, if you really peel everything, what we're passionate about is women, journeying with women and growing with women, because we are women ourselves, we're the target audience ourselves, and we yearn for that tribe that understands, that speak to us, and to come out to talk about our vulnerability, to talk about how we can grow and learn together and talk about issues. So I think that was when we also started to really started small groups, right? Organically, we started small groups like, hey, will you be keen if we were to talk about, like dressing for plus size, like M, XL, L size and above, and that was slowly how we started to grow different communities as well. I think stuff that perhaps most people didn't dare to talk about, real issues like mental illnesses, you know, and things like that. So I think it took many different forms, and that's also how we slowly saw it grow. Yeah.
Great, thank you. That really answers the questions of how a community evolves over time. So in the interest of time, I'll ask one last question now, and later the speakers will be available downstairs at the Clan Cafe for you to meet them individually to ask them questions. So the last question is addressed to everybody. We've been talking about things from a more macro scale or a strategic perspective. Let's bring it back down to the personal level. A personal encounter on an individual basis where you felt that community building was very rewarding for you. Like maybe an encounter where someone came up to you and said something, you felt like, wow, this is really worth it. Yeah. So this is addressed to all the speakers.
Hi. Suddenly everybody look at me. Actually, I think what's most rewarding for me would be my own personal projects. So I've spoken in capacity of someone who runs a social media agency, but I myself, I love also empowering women and creating safe spaces for women to discuss certain things they might not want to in the real world. So I just did it once in the last 6 months, having a very intimate conversation over dinner and having a few selected women in the group. And it was just like a very casual dinner where the point was to just be open and have personal conversations, which I feel is very rare nowadays, especially in what I do on social media. It only goes like a certain depth. And I think what was rewarding was just after that when people just took it off and had their own relationships. Just strangers had friendships and people saying like, hey, let's do it again. Like, it really felt different. Yeah.
I think for me, it's very heartening to see groups of people coming to events and to the stalls, and having known each other through the brand. So they're literally like friends for the last 2 years because they met each other in store, or they were at the fitting room and someone commented, contrary to the guys, because someone commented that, oh my God, you look so good in that, what size is that, and things like that. And that's how they started to form WhatsApp group chats, started to update each other on new launches and things like that. So that's when they started to form a close-knit relationship. And it was very interesting because when I dug further, right, and these are friends that had just known each other in the most recent years only, and they tell me that they actually feel very safe talking to each other because unlike their other friends, perhaps they've known each other for a while where, when they meet up, they would usually just talk about like, hey, who got promoted recently, who's getting married and things like that, where they felt like in this community they can talk about real issues, right? And just to share a very short story that I think ultimately was the turning point for Love Bonito's journey was, there was once in 3 years ago, there was a lady who just wrote into me randomly on email, and she said, hey Rach, can I come down to share with you a little bit about how Love Bonito has made a difference in my life? So I was like, okay, sure, would love to invite you down to my office, come. So the day came and she arrived. She's this 26-year-old girl who was visibly, like, she had just gone through major surgery, right? Because her hair was just growing out and her entire left side of her body was immobile. She couldn't move her entire left side. So she was walking and talking very slowly. So to cut the long story short, as I sat her down and I got her to share, she said in the last 6 months, she's been in and out of major brain surgery because there was something sitting on the left nerve of her brain. She had to obviously shave off her head. She had to go through skull reconstruction. She lost her then boyfriend. She lost her crown of glory. And we all know hair is so important to us, right? I lost all my confidence. But she said every day throughout my recovery period, every day that I had to go back to facing the world, to go for interviews, for job interviews, every day that I had to go back for medical checkups, she said the only thing that kept me going was knowing that I had Love Bonito outfits that suited me well, but also this friend that she actually made through shopping and knowing in Love Bonito, where there's no judgment and just supporting, encouraging her along the way, checking in on her and things like that. And when I heard that, I had tears in my eyes because this is exactly why exist, and this is exactly what we are here for. And I think at the end of the day, you will hear many, many stories, as I'm sure my fellow panelists have also heard from that building their own communities, that the impact that you have and that you will make is gonna be fulfilling. It's gonna be so fulfilling. It's gonna be so worth it. So yeah, we just need to help build a tribe, and find the right people to fill the tribe.
Okay, for us, I think we have two very outstanding ones. For me personally, is because with every year event, we get very different people coming through the doors of our annual convention, and of the many of them, of course, the two more prominent ones that I remember were two people who actually eventually went on to start their own conventions in their own country after seeing ours. So I guess for us, what really impacted me a lot is that the ability to influence someone so greatly that they are willing to throw caution in the wind, do the same stupid things that we did, put in money for something that inherently doesn't make any money in their own country. And that for me, when I went up for their event, and I was like, wow, this is huge. And they'd be like, it's because of you. I'm like, no, it can't be true. You're just bluffing me because you flew me over. So, but I guess the whole potential of possibly influencing something like what Rachel mentioned is one of the most impactful things that, at least for me, I have gone through while doing Soul Superior.
I know globally the media likes to paint. They like to feature a lot of young kids. They feature all these like 14-year-olds. Then how they flip shoes and they make $47,000, right? And generally that paints it in a very negative and very greedy mindset. But I always love it when younger people come to our event. Off the top of my head, I can remember the time where there were a bunch of 14-year-olds who were on their the first or second year we had it at Zouk. And they were so excited. They said, thank you for having the event. And they were just stoked to be like able to go back and tell their friends that they went to like top 5 club in the world, right? Even though it's on the daytime, plus, yeah. I mean, so yeah, like when younger people like they feel like they they learn a little bit more about sneaker culture, the design and stuff like that. I think that's one of the highlights for me, personally.
Great, thank you all for sharing. I think it's very nice to hear the more personal side of community building. And with that, thank you everyone for your time today. So let's give your speakers a round of applause. So the speakers will be available downstairs at the Clan Cafe, where everyone can go up to them individually, ask them any questions that you're too shy to maybe ask in a bigger group as well. So yeah, so please.
We'll be giving away socks. So come, let's hang out.
Nice. Yeah, I mean. Yeah. Actually, talk to him. He's the one that has the socks.